1. Greetings again, fellow anthropologists. When we left off, my comrade and I were surrounded by the advancing commune of Neckbeards, who had the clear intent of forcing us into the lumpy confines of their embrace. Luckily for the two of us, the Neckbeards in question were too heavy and out of shape to engage in a glumph, a kind of diving tackle used to subdue weaker prey and force advances on them. This allowed us to evade them by diving around a table and throwing out a bushel of French fries. Any sexual intentions the doughy women may have had were immediately quenched by the starchy foods, and we were free to resume our studies, thankfully unmolested. The Neckbeards, seeing our struggles, began talking about their ideal waifus, or fictional characters that they wanted to be married to. This conversation included a wide array of foreign or made-up names from materials I had never heard of. The discussions were more involved than the dogma of most religions. When asked about my own waifu, I knew that this was a make-or-break moment for the tribe's trust in me. Mind racing, I stated that my favorite was Arganara from the show Super Power Panty Thieves 5. And luckily, none of the Neckbeards thought to check the validity of my statement or source material. It was during this interaction that I saw them approaching. Two younger women, one with pink hair and the other with green-tipped blonde hair. They were both slim and well-dressed. Everything about their appearance said that they should avoid this fragrant tribe like the plague. And yet, they dived right into the middle of the group. The pink-haired one pulled out a small deck of magic cards, while the green-tipped one began talking with the matriarchs of the Neckbeards. My first thoughts were that they must be anthropologists like my friend and I. What other reasons could they have for this behavior? Seeing the magic cards, Jacksonbeard stomped over to the pink-haired girl and tipped his leather fedora to her.
"Do you want to play?"
He grunted sweatily. She took a seat and smiled at him. "Yeah, though I'm afraid my cards aren't too good." They began playing, and the pink-haired girl was almost instantly defeated. The small talk between the match was crude, and for the sake of posterity, I must record it. Jacksonbeard.
"You're cute. Are you single?"
Pink girl. "Yeah, though I plan on staying that way." Jacksonbeard.
"Yeah, you could date me. That way all the other guys in the college will leave you alone."
Pink girl. "I might consider it." At this point, she was losing. My vampires are getting beaten. Jacksonbeard. "Do you have any?" Rattles off the names of several cards. Pink girl. "No, sadly money is really tight for me. Having those cards would make me so happy." Jacksonbeard. Obvious Neckbeard plot is being schemed. After this game, Jacksonbeard stood, tipped his hat, and said that he would be right back. The other smaller Neckbeards, like so many elephant seals, took advantage of the fatter dominant male being away and made for the females. A series of magic games were set up, and conversation so laughable as to make Jacksonbeard look as eloquent as Shakespeare were muttered through. One memorable Neckbeard didn't even talk or look directly at the girl. He simply sat down and began playing. When the game was done, he stood up and silently walked away. The turning point was when Jacksonbeard returned, clutching a small collection of cards in his orange-stained hands. With great ceremony, He handed them over to the pink-haired girl, who said a quick thanks and began going through them. As she rattled them off, my comrade began consulting the field guide and totaled the price of the cards at a staggering $70. Jackson Beard smiled at her so widely, I could see his past 5 meals scattered about his teeth, and stated that
it was a gift for endowing this area with such beauty.
Pink Hair's reaction was to smile, help her build a deck so she could beat down these guys. I then realized that she was not an anthropologist, but a poacher. However, as a neutral observer, I cannot ethically involve myself in the tribe's travails. However, I must remind you that no empathy must be mustered on behalf of the odorificus Neckbeardica, given the long list of behaviors which are not mentioned in polite company. The 3 matriarchs of the Ladybeard tribe are all fearsome in their own rights. The first is Rotherbeard, a heavy woman who lumbered around with an improvised dolly made of milk crates and wheels she used to carry her backpack, a microwave, a pantry's worth of canned food, and to crush the toes of anyone who refused to move out of her way quickly enough. When she hungered, she would plug in her microwave and cook her food. This is not to say that there were no microwaves on the campus, just that they were on the other side of the student center, and she did not deign to walk like other peons. The second queen was Social Warrior Beard, and as the name might evoke, she was a fighter for everyone's social rights. In fact, my last sentence likely violated several of her sensibilities by assuming her gender. She would often get riled up by the Neckbeards and would lead a daily crusade against the injustices created by the white males. The third and final matriarch was the Otherkin Queen. She was less abhorrent than the other matriarchs by about 50 pounds, but compensated by her extreme views. In her mind, every person had an animal spirit inside them, and it was only a matter of the person being self-aware enough to see it. She would often try to convert people to the Otherkin ranks, and depending on the sanity of the person she was preaching to, it would have varying results. Any attacks on one of the matriarchs would rally all the other Ladybeards to their side, and drown out all competition in a wave of estrogen screeches and cries of, "You triggered me." It was an impressive communal display of reliance, though the moment outwards opposition was encountered, they would rapidly devolve into attacking each other over husbandos and theories on the show Sherlock. It was still new at the time. Next time I write, I shall detail the horrors of the Halloween celebrations, the opulent displays of some of the quieter Neckbeards, and even the poachers' attempts to weaponize her newfound friends in the tribe. The true cringe of the Neckbeard has yet to be displayed, and it will be continued. 2. Hello again, fellow anthropologists. Today we will continue to follow the development of our tribe of odorificus Neckbeardica. During our last time together, I illustrated all of the prominent members of the tribe. This allows us to continue our studies further into the semester. The seasons waned, and the few decorative trees on the campus lost their leaves. One of the tribe's seamstresses took a break from knitting ritualistic My Little Pony caps and adornments to knit dollies on the trees. Due to the constant precipitation of the region, all of the yarn promptly molded and rotted. Halloween approached, and with it came the harvest celebration for the Neckbeard tribe. The hunter-gatherers would range far and wide on foot, often walking hundreds of feet, a true feat for any member of the tribe, to bring back family-sized bags of Reese's Pieces or Chocolate Kisses, likely the only form that many of the tribe receive. These foods are very important to the sustainment of the tribe for the future cold months ahead. Along with the harvest of fat-sustaining foods comes the self-adornment in tribute to their gods. The costumes typically come in a varying set of form and quality, all curtailing to the devotion of the follower as well as their affluence in the tribe. An average example of a tribal outfit would be a thin, hairy Dresden, an attempt at a wizard from a series of novels written by a butcher. The costume complements the standard Neckbeard's attire of a heavy trench coat by requiring only a black cowboy hat and a walking stick covered in Sharpie. Being more affluent in the tribe, Jackson Beard spent the entire week wearing the armor of Gatsu. The pronunciation is very important, and saying guts will receive a prompt and lengthy correction. A very angry character who spends the length of an anime chasing his potential male love interest. The flaw with these eclectic persona choices seems to be in the judging phase, which is judged by the whole of the student center by cheers. So, despite the quality of the Etsy-made armor, the glutted Gatsu would not garner cheers and receive favor for the whole tribe. This led to much frustration on behalf of the tribe, and usually led to punitive acts of aggression. After the contest was decided, the tribe threw a secondary harvest celebration in the library. A tribesman had brought former box and Xbox and a game of Left 5 Dead. The tribe took use of a massive flat-screen TV. Large sizes of flat screen were hard for any college to procure during this time, and began to snack and game together communally. It is a testament to the power of fatty foods, video games, and a mutual lack of hygiene to bring people together. During this time of peace, a minor playful scuffle arose. The pink-haired poacher, dressed as a student of witchcraft and wizardry, was having a playful tug-of-war with the hairy Dresden over his staff. Having never been in direct conflict with a lady touching his shaft, he was very apprehensive and refused to give it to this foreign creature. However, her grip and arm strength proved stronger when she pulled one final time, and his sweating hands lost all semblance of grip. The pink poacher, overbalanced, fell backwards and took his staff fully in the mouth. This led to her lip starting to bleed slightly. This act went mostly unnoticed by the tribe, except for girthy Gatsu, who went berserk. Jackson Beard leapt up shouting, "Did you assault my Casca?" Reference needed, but it evokes images of a vacant-eyed woman, to which the hairy Dresden could only stammer. The lack of social skills, as well as loss of his ritualistic totem, left Harry Dresden unable to respond to the fury he was faced with. The other members of the tribe shrunk away from the bulging black swordsman as he attempted to flip the massive table separating them. He was thwarted by the table weighing more than 70 pounds, so he had to storm around the long way, kicking at chairs in a display of dominance akin to silverbacks throwing leaves. When he reached the flat screen, he made a bellowing war cry and punched the TV with his gauntleted fist. The gauntlet covering his whole left hand was made of actual metal, and the TV was instantly destroyed. The other members of the tribe stared in awe at this reckless display of power, as the hairy Dresden slipped under the table and crawled towards the door. The financially culpable Gatsu spun and found his prey almost towards the door and dove towards him. Unfortunately for him, the chairs he had kicked over were in the way, and he had none of the nimbleness required to move through them quickly in armor. The ballooned black swordsman met his fiercest foe yet, the black security Chad. The campus security guard, drawn by the fierce voice-cracking roar of the alpha Neckbeard, came around the corner to see a furious fatty in armor and smashed flat-screen TV, and a smaller woman with a bloody lip. A challenge for dominance was engaged, and immediately resolved. In a true display of power, Securitus Chadicus slammed the lesser individual down and forced him into submission. This resulted in Jackson Beard being dragged before the leader of the college civilization, with the local constable in tow. Jackson Beard pled his defense, stating that, due to his Viking blood, when he gets angry he sees red and loses control of himself. Unfortunately for the alpha of the Neckbeard tribe, the other peoples were not to be persuaded by his cunning arguments. The tribe suffered a great loss that day, and indeed, so did our studies, when the outside interference of a greater society resulted in the heavy fining and expulsion of the Jackson Beard. However, the removal of an alpha Neckbeard results in greater opportunities for study in the advancement of rank in the tribe, a situation often unheard of. Does a lesser beard suddenly gain weight and become the physical replacement of the prior alpha? Do they have a tribal rite of passage based on circumference of odor? I will remain observing the tribe in the attempt to find out. Until then, dear readers, I bid you adieu.
3.
Greetings, fellow anthropologists. This is more of a breakdown of the social standings I have observed while dwelling amongst the large tribe of Odorificus neckbeardica. These observations may be limited to my geographical area, but I have noticed a disturbing amount of similarities between all genus found across the world: waifu wars, edgelord syndrome, poor hygiene, etc. The environment of this particular tribe dwells in the innards of one of our county colleges in Washington. The college is a cheaper one, but decidedly liberal. This allows career neckbeards to take a minimum of classes and have a large amount of financial aid left over for their bevy of online subscriptions. The tribe in question dwells on a raised section in the middle of the student center, which comes with long rectangular tables for Magic the Gathering, a display of power and wealth, as only the wealthiest of neckbeards can afford to spend $30 plus on a card. The location provides the tribe with all the essentials a neckbeard needs to thrive: Doritos, Mountain Dew, and assorted junk foods from the vending machines located on the platform. And their central location allows them to stare down on all the chads around them. Before my companion or I knew it, we were completely surrounded by the entirety of the tribe of neck/legbeards. Luckily, they had not been hostile or suspicious towards us, even as they tried to include us in the conversations of the obscure anime they were partaking of. Rather than tip them off to our foreign nature, I just made do with references to something called a bleach. This seemed to appease them as they continued to talk of the values of ponies over real women. The males of the Neckbeard tribe came in two varieties, the heavier traditional neckbeard and a small scrawny type of scavenger neckbeard, rarely reaching above 100 pounds in weight. The most impressive of the tribe was the Jackson beard, a gentle sir weighing in at a lumpy 270, equipped with the leather fedora, white suit coat, and one of many My Little Pony t-shirts, and two black fingerless gloves. For the added benefit, the only thing that would change from his wardrobe would be his cargo pants to cargo shorts. Carrying space is incredibly important for the dominant neckbeard, and the others seem to fear his ability to produce snacks and magic cards from the limitless pockets. Occasionally, the amicable discussions would lapse into horrid grunting arguments over the differences between democracy and communism, and how people such as Hitler and Mussolini had things right. The purpose of such arguments seems to be to demonstrate which neckbeard is the most edgy and woke. Any disagreements would result in a hail of the word sheeple, despite any amount of logic and facts being utilized. These discussions cause much triggering to the legbeards of the tribe, who vocalize quite loudly that everyone can do what they want so long as it aligns with the values of the legbeard speaking. Due to this being a liberal college, the legbeards tend to be of the tumbler variety, and have a series of preferred pronouns which must be used before the matriarchs of the tribe can acknowledge the petitioner. In a few rare cases, the more anime-infused legbeards would declare themselves to be a reborn kitsune, further sighting required, and wore the ears and tail of a fox. This seems to be a method of garnering attraction from the males of the tribe, but the purpose of the animal parts remains unknown. However, the average legbeard is more masculine than a large portion of the neckbeards, and it was not an uncommon sight to see the female of the couple cradling the male in her arms. This is when things took a decidedly darker turn, as several of the legbeards had decided that we were suitable mates. This is likely due to the extreme disconnect in the neckbeards' view of dating. Most of the tribe seem to have learned their dating talents from anime dating simulators. However, few of these simulators include factors such as personal hygiene, and so both sides of the equation were left bereft of suitable mates. While this predictably meant that as the legbeards made horrific quivering advances on my comrade and I, it left a door open for a new kind of predator, the most insidious kind, which will be discussed if I get enough positivity to release the sequel. 4. Hello again, fellow anthropologists. It has been quite a time since my last letter, mostly due to my shifting from the tribe of Odorificus Neckbeardica to a larger communion known as Universitas Neckbeardica. Despite the difference in location, many of the traditional sociological traits are demonstrated in this communion. Emboldened by my prior interactions, I approached the perceived leader, a portly man wearing garments stained with past meals, demonstrating his abilities as a provider, sitting amongst several of his peers. They wore the traditional sacred garments of their tribalistic religion, in the form of stained black shirts featuring their chosen deities or waifus, with a few choice words and boasts about beating a foe known as Dark Souls I was quickly adopted into the tribe. It was during the next week with the commune, in which I discovered the radical differences between the tribes. It can be summarized by a more in-depth, the detailing and courtship attempts of the individual known as Neckbeard. The differences of Neckbeard can only be surmised to the environmental changes. This is due to Neckbeard having been primarily a standard specimen until his relocation to the commune. The changes which occurred over the course of a winter season, starting with a Halloween celebration where Neckbeard dressed up as the Tim Burton rendition of Alice in Wonderland. This resulted in a large amount of positive attention from a neighboring tribe of Neckbeards, the extent of which was not observed. The effects, however, were that Neckbeard began wearing more Lolita-styled outfits. While this may have been viewed as a potential awakening, except for the caveat of Neckbeard's self-description to the Neckbeard tribe.
I identify as pansexual, but I'm not interested in men.
Which reveals the use of the attire as a clever form of camouflage. Every other aspect of Neckbeard was a standard of his type. He rarely bathed in order to maximize his pheromones, never washed his hair in order to keep the natural oils in it, and anointed his body with Cheeto and Dorito powders. So as a method of integrating himself amongst potential female mates, he snuck in, akin to the elephant seals attempting to sneak time with females. It began well enough for Neckbeard, as he quickly became socially accepted. Many of his grooming habits began to reflect his new company. Although this never expanded to washing his body or clothes, it did include adopting the Warpaint-esque makeup stylings of the Neckbeards, as well as tying the greased hair into pigtails. One would have hoped that such drastic changes would have paid off, but the Neckbeard tribe was no stranger to the ways of social subterfuge. Within a few weeks of clumsy interactions, Neckbeard made attempts on some of the slimier members of the Neckbeard tribe. His victim, desired mate, was a vibrant-haired Neckbeard, who had made many decries about the patriarchal system of the Neckbeard commune. Their conversation began with them sharing discontentment about the system, and Neckbeard attempted to communicate how he wasn't like those other guys, due to him wearing a dress. By this point, the Lolita-style dress had begun to show massive wear due to lack of care and being worn to every social function. Neckbeard immediately followed up his comments by asking if she wanted to go get drinks with him at some point. His potential paramour shook her head and politely let him know that she didn't date men. This is where the cunning ploy attempted to pay off. Neckbeard gestured to his dress.
I mean, I'm basically the best of both worlds in this.
Neckbeard gestured to his dress. The Neckbeard tried to laugh it off, thinking it was a very poor joke, when he doubled down on it.
This way you can date someone not like other men and not have to make do with a fake penis.
Not realizing the flaws in his social script was likely due to his social ineptitude, engineering student, and the lack of an anime dating sim which fits his specific scenario. Neckbeard began attempting to extricate herself from this failed courtship display, and was pursued by Neckbeard, hoping his persistence would win her over. However, he did not count on her physical prowess. With a quick motion, she slapped Neckbeard so hard he went down to the ground. The symbol of his rejection emblazoned on his face as a symbol of his ostracism from the Neckbeard tribe. This left Neckbeard in a state of social limbo, as he was unable to reintegrate with the Neckbeard commune after he had adopted the trappings and isms of the Neckbeard tribe, but he was unable to form connections with other social groups. His story didn't progress as far as I had witnessed. For all I know, he remains in this limbo to this day. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to David Attenborough's Neckbeards in the Wild. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd appreciate it if you shared it around, gave it a like, and did all that good stuff. I thought there was a fourth story for this. There is a fourth story, but I literally cannot find it in any of my videos. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there was the last story that I did, which was the university or the college one. Well, I couldn't find it, so we made do with what we had. Okay, let's see. This is a Sunday. I don't believe there are any shout-outs. No, there's none for today, although apparently I did one prematurely last week. It's not due until July. I did it in June. So we'll do it again next month. Right, I think we'll just move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And that is, if you had the choice, would you want more hours in the day or more days in the week? Personally speaking, I think a couple of extra hours in the day would be good, but I don't know if I'd necessarily want the week to be an extra day longer overall. Although obviously the week would technically be longer a little bit if each day was longer. Let me know what you think in a comment below. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.